I'm here today with Sean Zinsmeister from Infer, and we're going to talk about ABM using predictive analytics. Thanks for joining us, Sean. How you doing?
It's great to be here, man.
Good,
I'm
good.
Fired up for the summit.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So who's ABM for? Is it something that only mid-sized businesses and enterprises should think about, or is it something that small businesses can also consider?
I think it's definitely something for everybody. I think ABM has been a strategy that salespeople who have always looked after accounts have been around for a really long time. And now we're sort of seeing this really interesting market evolution where sales is actually creeping up the pipe, up the funnel rather. Marketing is creeping down, and so you're starting to see this cool convergence point where marketers are trying to, they're forced to sort of be into the role of sales a lot more and understand their metrics and things like win rate, op rate, things they're not used to. And so it's a really, really good, I always consider it's optics, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a new version of optics to help build sales and marketing alignment across the organization, which is great for large and small organizations.
So with kind of the profile that you need of someone who's focusing on an ABM strategy, is that just the marketing guy, or should we be thinking about things like sales and operations being involved as well?
It's got to be a holistic strategy in general, and in many cases, it's more of a complementary strategy as well. And when people are thinking about building out their marketing and sales teams, a lot of people are saying, oh, is it ABM over inbound or ABM over outbound? Mm-hmm. And I would argue that they are, individual pieces that put together into more of a diversified portfolio approach is what I would call it. So I think that there are new roles that marketing professionals are going to have to adopt that are those that are putting forth their energy, whether it's a content marketer that's focusing their production energy and creativity into content specific for supporting accounts, or campaign managers that are doing quite the same. So I think it's more of an evolutionary process for the profession.
Got it. So is the skill set something that marketers within an organization can be trained up on, or is it something that we need to think about bringing someone new to focus on?
I think there's a lot of internal training. I think that's natural as well, as the marketers gain more intimate knowledge of the accounts that the salespeople care about the most. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of more granular details that they're going to want to put into their messages that are more personalized and content that's a bit more accustomed to address the business challenge. Mm-hmm. I do think there's we're undergoing a great rise of great sort of outer educational sources as well that people can grab onto, but I think a lot of the education that marketing can learn will actually be almost shadowing the sales team and that internal development.
And what are some of the success stories that you've seen in terms of ABM implementation, like within a strategy? Because I hear you mention accounts a lot, which makes me think, for the sales guys, they really should be interested in this because it's marketing actually focusing on accounts, which is what the sales guys have always wanted and what they've always traditionally focused on, right?
Yeah.
So it is something that, all business sizes can actually potentially implement.
I'm seeing a lot of businesses, especially ones that we get a chance to work with at Infer, that had leads models, right, where they had a big giant funnel. They were opening up that world of leads with, say, velocity teams, freemium strategies, right,
right.
Content marketing strategies that are pouring all these leads into accounts, and they were mostly looking at it as sort of a person-by-person basis. And now we're starting to create more of that holistic strategy by saying, how do we map these to accounts to go after bigger deals as more of a complementary strategy? And I think I'm seeing more teams keep that sort of velocity model in place, because it's still driving revenue, right? You don't want to just sort of kill that off and move on to something else. But they want to figure out, how do we actually build off of what we're doing already today? And sometimes that could be in like an enterprise consolidation strategy where they may sell smaller cohorts of products to companies. And then how do we roll that up into larger volume license deals? This is a great example of businesses like Nitro and Zendesk and those guys that were they're kind of born from the traditional lead velocity free trial model, and it's sort of evolved to more of that. They want to go up market with an ABM strategy.
Got it. So you also talk about finding the right customer for your product, right? So like thinking about the pain point and what is the customer actually trying to do, and what customer is actually best suited for our product, and kind of creating a strategy around that. But then you also mentioned the funnel, right? So with so many people, I think, still kind of having their head wrapped around this idea of casting this huge wide funnel, right? Where I'm just generating as many leads as possible, even though we're hearing, on average, a lot of people are closing 1% of the leads they generate, right?
Right.
So how do you get business decision makers, not just the marketing guy, but a BDM, to actually say, yes, let's shift from our traditional approach where we're just measuring based on leads to actually thinking about an account-based strategy?
Well, I think that the first thing is sort of realizing where the traditional model sort of funnel visualization is sort of failing us. And part of it has been destroyed by everybody being inundated with so much data in marketing and sales professionals' lives. My favorite analogy to think about this would be like, in sort of unclustered version of, star constellations, right? Before we developed the, technology to be able to see these things and map it, they were just unclustered, they were unstructured. And that's what the old world explorers kind of used to see, right? And now with the rise of things like predictive analytics and a lot of stuff is actually coming into focus, where we're starting to see the patterns, where we see, it is the Big Dipper that we're seeing in the sky, which makes a lot of sense. And I think I use that analogy to say that the funnel is very much like that as well. Like, data has caused so much turbulence and so much confusion with sales and marketers to be able to determine, what do I focus on next? What do I do next? And because the evolution of technology has allowed us to make better sense of answering those questions with a greater sense of confidence, there's that idea of statistical significance is becoming very, very apparent in how we make decisions every day. And I think that part of that is due to the rise of things like predictive analytics, artificial intelligence, and things like that.
So I know you have a lot of great stuff, so we could go on forever, and I definitely encourage you guys to check out some of this guy's blogs. You have some great stuff out there. But just kind of leaving people with a few key takeaways, what are the top three things that you would suggest that organizations think about in getting started with predictive analytics?
Yeah, so it's funny, like my answers are probably going to be pretty boring, but I tend to encourage people to really think backwards when they think about this stuff, which is, everybody is always so hot to rush after the shiny new object and buy the tool before they have a strategy in place. I would actually encourage businesses to think about what challenges exist in your business today that would be a good fit for predictive analytics to solve. Because many times, like, you may find that you're just not a good fit for predictive analytics, maybe overkill for what your particular business is. There could be other processes, cart before the horse type of thing, which says you guys should get this part of your house in order, organize your team in such a way, then bring on the shiny new tools to really help you to take that to the next level. So I think understanding what challenges your business wants to solve. And I think that the other thing is the measured expectation around it. Predictive analytics, for the most part, at a very high level, is very much conversion optimization across your business. And I think that there's a reality that needs to set into people to say, there's nobody who should be out there selling a silver bullet solution. And the gains that you're getting around, I want to increase, my average deal size. I want to increase my conversion point. I want to make my salespeople more productive. I want to make my marketing more effective. Those are all good questions to start asking yourself to say, okay, I should investigate predictive analytics because those are the things that it's helping to solve.
Right, but I mean, those are also things that everyone would want to solve, right? So
exactly.
I mean, so it's a little bit of a contrast when you're saying you need to think about, is this right for your business? Sure. But then you're saying well, if you want to convert more, then it's right for your business. Yeah. I think that's something everyone would say yes to. So is there what's kind of the number one thing that people should answer for themselves before they implement something like this?
So I think one is sort of a basic understanding of what your current database looks like today. In order to really make predictive analytics useful, you need to have a certain volume of wins and losses, so positive and negative signals. And for many businesses that have very large sort of top of funnels, predictive analytics is a very natural fit. They need prioritization to figure out what accounts or what leads do I focus on next. But the other question I think is actually more interesting is where businesses want to go next. There's an expansion strategy where it says, okay, I want to launch a product in this new geo, or I want to expand into this new vertical. They should be thinking about what is their ideal customer profiles? What are their target segments that they want to go after? And predictive can actually help equip you with data that you didn't have before to understand, hey, this looks a lot like your best accounts or customers. This is going to dig where the ground is softest in your expansion strategy. So in that way, you're sort of thinking about predictive handling your current set and your current database, as well as how do I then expand my business and grow revenue as well? Great.
So really making sure that your strategy is aligned and that you have the right data set in place before you even take on this type of more ambitious strategy.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I think we got some great takeaways for now. Thanks to Sean for joining us today, and hopefully this was some great helpful tips for you. So just to sum up what the key takeaways in terms of applying a predictive analytics strategy, what are those key takeaways for organizations to think about?
Sure. There's a framework that we actually helped develop that's actually just 4 sort of easy steps to figure out where predictive kind of plays in fueling your ABM strategy. The first, I like to just consider it like sort of mapping your universe, right? You have this database of accounts. You need to figure out who are my best accounts and gain an understanding about why that is. Once you sort of have that piece in play, the next part is, okay, now how do I figure out the accounts that are currently not in my database right now, who's not on my radar right now that I should be looking at, so I can make sure that I have sort of complete my sort of total addressable market analysis. The third piece is really mapping your ABM tactics to it. So whether you choose to go after it with sales development outreach or direct mail or a number of different tactics that these great vendors are allowing us to execute on right now. And the fourth piece is really measuring success. And I think predictive kind of comes back into play here, especially with things like behavior scoring to kind of figure out, is my marketing actually A, is it increasing pipeline? Is it B, being able to let me understand, am I driving behavior from the accounts that I actually care about? And then to dig a layer deeper to say, am I not only driving engagement from accounts that I care about, but am I driving accounts from the people inside those accounts that I care about as well? And that's another way that marketing can just use predictive to sort of tie everything together and say, how effective is this strategy being?
Awesome. That's great stuff. We usually only give people 3 takeaways, but you snuck in a 4th, so it was good stuff, so we'll leave it in there.
Cool.
Anyway, I want to thank Sean for joining us today. I think we have some great tips for you guys on predictive analytics, and hopefully it'll help you get started.